Welcome back to Scaling Legends. So let's just jump right in and unpack this massive anomaly right out of the gate because something wildly unusual just happened in the digital background of the construction industry.
Yeah, it really is wild.
Right. Like imagine you're looking at a flat line on a hospital heart monitor, just a steady, predictable blip. And then suddenly the line shoots straight up, like right off the top of the screen.
Completely off the chart.
Exactly. We are talking about a sudden, literally a 42,950% breakout in Google searches for the exact phrase, residential construction estimating service.
Which is, it's just a staggering number to see materialize practically overnight.
42,950%, like that is not a typo. And it's not an isolated blip either. Searches for just construction estimating overall jumped, I think, 205% across the board.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive today is to really figure out exactly why contractors are suddenly, desperately searching for estimating help. We're going to explore the underlying economic squeeze that's causing this panic.
Yeah, the real root of it.
Exactly. And most importantly, how you as a construction business owner listening right now can position your operations to protect your margins before this wave just completely crashes over you.
Because those search numbers, they're a massive red flag waving in the wind. And just to lay the foundation for our conversation today, it's important to note that this specific trend was identified by Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report.
Right.
They track these exact search patterns to identify what contractors are prioritizing right at this very second.
Yeah.
And what the industry is screaming for clearly is just a lifeline for their bidding process.
You know what this massive sudden shift reminds me of? It's like, have you ever been watching a huge flock of birds, like thousands of them, just flying along in one direction?
Oh yeah, the murmuration.
Yeah. And then instantly they all aggressively pivot at the exact same millisecond. Like it's not a random glitch. It's an instinctual reaction to a coming storm.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. They feel the barometric pressure drop in the air around them, and they move as a single unit to survive. That instinctual pivot is exactly what this 42,950% spike feels like to me. Like contractors are feeling the pressure drop.
They definitely are. And the barometric pressure of the construction economy is dropping rapidly right now. If we look at the weather report, so to speak, we have to face the brutal reality of the February numbers.
And they are brutal.
Very. Non-residential construction starts dropped by $32.9 billion.
Wait, billion with a B?
Billion with a B.
Wow. That is just a massive chunk of capital simply vanishing from the pipeline in, a single month?
In one single month, yeah. The total fell down to $49.4 billion. And then you couple that with Moody's putting the odds of a nationwide recession at like 50-50 right now, alongside a devastating 26.3% drop in residential construction. Yeah, so the market isn't just taking a breather. It is actively shrinking.
So here is where I need to pull on a thread from the prep notes for this deep dive, because I was looking at the overall construction numbers, like the big national averages.
Right.
And they didn't look quite that apocalyptic on the surface. Like it actually looked like things were somewhat stable.
Well, that is the data center distortion in action.
The data center distortion.
Yeah. So the massive influx of data center projects, which is driven entirely by the global AI boom, that's currently propping up the entire industry's macroeconomic statistics.
Oh, interesting.
Right, because these are multi-billion-dollar mega projects sucking up labor, materials, and capital. They make the water look fine from a distance. But, and this is the kicker, if you remove data centers from the equation, the overall construction market actually declined by 3.8%.
Wow. Okay, so if your firm isn't out there pouring thousands of yards of concrete for some billion-dollar server farm, the reality on the ground is much colder. You're basically fighting for a shrinking pile of scraps.
Exactly. And that shrinking pile, well, it changes the entire psychology of how a firm operates.
I have to push back on that logic a little bit, though, because if the market is shrinking, meaning there are, fewer residential builds, fewer commercial starts, fewer overall projects happening in your county,
right?
Shouldn't contractors theoretically have more time? If a project manager's pipeline is lighter, it seems like they would have plenty of hours in the week to sit down, sharpen their pencil, and estimate properly. Why is there a desperate rush for outside help if the workload is lightening?
It's a really logical assumption, honestly. But it completely overlooks the mechanics of competition in a shrinking market.
Okay, how so?
Well, when there are fewer projects on the street, you aren't bidding against 3 other familiar companies anymore. You're bidding against 10, maybe 12.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. Every single contractor in a 50-mile radius is suddenly hungry for the exact same municipal retrofit or the exact same suburban subdivision. The competition per project becomes absolutely cutthroat.
Ah, I see. So with 3 bidders, you might win on relationships or reputation. But with 12 bidders, someone's going to come in with just a razor-sharp number.
Exactly. You can't just throw out a rough historical estimate and hope it sticks anymore.
Yeah.
When margins are fat and work is plentiful, yeah, a company can survive being a little sloppy on their takeoffs.
Right, the napkin math.
The napkin math, exactly. But right now, extreme accuracy is critical just to make it past the first round of bid leveling. And layered on top of that cutthroat competition is the second, much more dangerous element to the storm.
Which is?
Material volatility. Overall, material prices are up 12.6% annualized right now.
Ugh, which hurts, but it's the specific spikes that really do the damage,
Well,
right?
absolutely. Look at steel. Steel alone has swung 47% over a 2-year period.
47%, that's insane.
Right. Think about the real-world mechanics of that for a second. Like, imagine you win a $2 million commercial project based on an estimate that was, a little loose. You get the award, you start moving dirt, and then steel jumps 20% while you're right in the middle of the build.
You're completely underwater.
Exactly. A bad estimate doesn't just mean you lose a bid at the negotiating table. In a volatile market, winning a job with a bad bid literally kills the company. It completely wipes out your operational cash flow.
Because you're contractually locked into delivering a building at a price that no longer covers the physical materials. Man, that is terrifying.
It really is.
So relying on that napkin math, or just the way a company might have bid jobs 5 years ago, it's a proven death sentence today. The margin for error is effectively zero.
Zero. And the industry knows it, which brings us right back to that massive search spike.
Okay, so if a bad bid is a death sentence, how are these companies physically protecting themselves? Like, what are those 42,000 searchers actually finding when they look for solutions online?
Well, we're seeing competitors split into 3 distinct strategic paths to adapt to this pressure. So option 1 is the most immediate, which is to outsource the estimating entirely to a specialized third party. Gotcha. And this is the direct cause of that 42,950% spike.
Hitting the panic button and calling in the cavalry?
Exactly, but it's a highly strategic panic button. These third-party estimating services, they step in and handle the takeoffs, meaning they literally count every single 2x4, every linear foot of conduit, every yard of concrete directly from the digital blueprints.
Right.
And then they handle the cost assembly, which just means grouping those material quantities with highly localized current labor rates to build a realistic price tag.
But that can't be cheap.
It's not. You're looking at a cost of roughly $500 to $5,000 per project, depending heavily on the complexity of the build.
Man, that is a serious chunk of capital just to place a bid you might not even win.
It's a huge upfront risk, but the return on investment is substantial. Contractors taking this route are seeing a 15 to 25% improvement in their win rates.
Oh, wow. So it actually pays for itself pretty fast.
Yeah, because when a general contractor or a developer receives a bid that is flawlessly broken down to the last fastener, it builds immediate trust. They know you aren't just guessing.
Right. Okay, so if outsourcing is the expensive, immediate fix, some of these companies have to be looking for a way to keep this in-house without, drowning their current staff in all that extra work. I'm guessing that's where the technology side comes in.
You guessed it. That's the second major path. Contractors are turning heavily to AI-powered software right now. AI for construction estimating is currently a top 3 search query, and best construction estimating software is sitting right at number 1.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're talking about utilizing tools like Stack, Plan Swift, or BuildZect.
So instead of hiring an outside firm to do the counting, you basically buy a super-powered tool to help your existing team count faster.
Yeah.
How does the AI actually speed up that process, practically speaking?
Well, these tools can reduce takeoff time by 40 to 60% by automating the really tedious measurements. So instead of a human using a scale ruler on a printed set of plans, the software uses optical character recognition and visual algorithms to automatically highlight and quantify wall areas, floor square footages, or roof pitches in literally seconds.
That's incredible.
It is, but there's a catch. This path requires clean, digital plans from the architect, and it requires a dedicated period to actually train your team on how to manipulate the software interface. It's a powerful tool, right? But it's not a magic wand.
Got it. And what's the third path?
Building internal capability the old-fashioned way. Hiring and training a dedicated in-house estimator.
Okay, so the long game.
Exactly. We know this is happening because searches for construction estimating course are also surging right now. This is definitely the slowest strategy to implement. I mean, it takes months or years to fully mature, but long-term, it provides the most value, stability, and institutional knowledge.
Okay, let me try to put an analogy to these three paths to really visualize the operational differences. Let's compare this to transportation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Outsourcing your estimating the first path is like calling an Uber, right? It's immediate. It gets you exactly where you need to go without you having to drive, but you pay a premium for every single ride.
A perfect parallel. Yeah.
And then the second path, the AI software, is like buying a Tesla. It is incredibly fast. It's high tech. Maybe it even drives itself a little bit, but you have to make a significant upfront capital investment, and you actually have to learn how the whole system works.
Right. And if the roads, or in this case, the architectural plans aren't clearly marked, that autopilot isn't going to work right.
Exactly. And then the third path, building internal capability, is like building a car from scratch in your garage. It's the absolute slowest method. It requires immense patience, but at the end of the day, you have ultimate control over the machine.
Yep, that nails it.
So for the construction business owner listening right now, looking at their shrinking pipeline, which one of these actually protects their margins? Like, which path should they take?
To answer that objectively, we can look at Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report. When they benchmark these different methodologies against real-world company performance, it becomes totally clear that the quote-unquote right answer depends entirely on a firm's specific operational volume, the complexity of their typical projects, and their current win rates.
Makes sense.
Right. So if a company only bids 2 massive, highly complex commercial projects a year, maybe outsourcing calling the Uber makes the most financial sense. But if a company is bidding 50 residential remodels or like light commercial fit-outs a month, they desperately need that AI software, that Tesla, to just churn through the sheer volume of blueprints.
Okay, so regardless of whether a company takes the Uber, buys the Tesla, or builds the car from scratch, regardless of the tool they choose, the actual foundational methodology of how they structure a bid has to change to survive this volatility, right? Because the rules of the game are just different now.
The foundational rules of estimating have shifted dramatically. There are new non-negotiables if a firm wants to stay solvent today. First, estimators absolutely must build a 3 to 5% contingency into their bids, strictly for estimating variance.
Wait, walk me through that. Not a contingency for like a sudden lumber price hike or a hidden rock ledge during excavation, but a buffer just for the math being slightly off.
Yes, because human error or even software oversight always exists.
Right.
Maybe a junior estimator missed a crucial detail buried in page 400 of the specifications, or maybe the architect changed a wall dimension in an addendum that just didn't get caught. A firm needs a buffer simply because no initial estimate is ever mathematically perfect.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, estimators have to use real-time pricing data. A company cannot pull historical material prices from a database that is 6 months old anymore.
Because of the steel swinging 47%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Using 6-month-old data in this economy is a complete financial landmine.
It's just guessing disguised as math at that point.
Perfectly said. And third, project teams have to re-estimate their projects at both 60% and 90% design completion. They can never, ever rely on a single conceptual initial estimate anymore.
Let's define those milestones for clarity, just so everyone's on the same page. What does a 60% and 90% completion actually look like in practice?
Sure. So at 60% design completion, you generally have the structural layout and the architecture pretty much locked in, but the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering might still be a little fluid.
Gotcha.
And then by 90%, the plans are essentially ready for municipal permitting. But final client finishes or specific equipment models could still shift around. Designs change, client requests creep in, materials get swapped out due to supply chain issues. You have to recalculate at those specific milestones.
Okay.
And finally, tracking historical estimate to actual variance is mandatory.
What does that mean exactly?
A firm needs to meticulously look at what they bid on paper versus what the project actually cost to build in the dirt. Anything over a 5% variance between those two numbers is a massive red flag, indicating a totally broken process.
Okay, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the business owner or the lead estimator listening to this, and I just have to push back purely from an operational standpoint.
Go for it.
You are telling me that I need to track real-time pricing daily. I need to meticulously audit my historical variances on past jobs, and I need to stop what I'm doing to completely re-estimate every single active project at 60% completion and then again at 90% completion.
Yes, that is the minimum threshold the current market requires to guarantee profitability.
But aren't these firms just tripling their administrative workload? I mean, construction teams are already stretched insanely thin. Project managers are running around putting out fires, dealing with delayed subcontractors, managing client expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
If the industry mandates 3 full estimates per job instead of 1, the whole system is going to bottleneck. They're going to completely drown in the paperwork.
You've hit the nail on the head. That exact pain point, that suffocating administrative bottleneck, is why searches for construction bidding software are up 110% right alongside the estimating services.
Ah, okay.
Contractors realize that if they just try to force their people to work harder and longer hours, the staff will break. They'll quit. So they are actively upgrading their entire bid pipeline to handle this new load. They are moving rapidly to AI operational solutions.
Let's get into the mechanics of that then. How does an AI platform actually relieve that pressure for a stressed out project manager?
We'll think about the actual administrative burden of estimating and managing a bid. It's not just doing the multiplication on a calculator, right?
No, definitely not.
It's digging through literal mountains of technical specifications, finding the right addendum documents, manually checking for compliance. It's exhausting. Platforms like Smart Business Automator are built specifically to scale a construction company's capacity without drowning the staff in that manual admin work.
Okay, so what is the AI doing under the hood to take that heavy lifting off their plate?
It utilizes natural language processing to read and comprehend massive text documents. For example, AI platforms can automatically extract the crucial hidden details from a 900-page specification binder. Yeah, so instead of a human project manager spending 4 hours drinking coffee and reading a dense PDF just to find the exact fire rating requirements for the door hardware, the AI scans the entire document in seconds and pulls that specific requirement right to a dashboard.
That is huge.
And it also summarizes daily logs and field reports from the superintendents. So the project manager knows exactly what happened on site yesterday without having to read 10 pages of handwritten notes.
That saves a massive amount of time right there. I mean, if the AI is reading the specs and summarizing the field notes, the project manager gets hours of their week back.
It goes even deeper than that. The software also detects schedule risks automatically by cross-referencing daily activity with the master timeline, and it checks project information against those massive specification documents to catch compliance gaps before they become expensive. Physical rework on the job site.
Oh, that's incredibly proactive.
Exactly. When a software platform is doing all that administrative organization, the data extraction, the risk detection, all automatically in the background, the project managers actually have the breathing room to sit down and re-estimate at 60% and 90%.
Right.
They can focus their human intelligence purely on the bid strategy, the local relationships, and protecting the margins rather than sorting paperwork.
You know, that reframes the whole concept of buying software for me. You aren't just buying a digital estimating calculator. You are buying back the actual hours your team needs to do the high-level critical thinking.
You are buying operational leverage. You are giving your team the capacity to be proactive rather than constantly reactive.
Bringing this all together, what does this underlying squeeze and these rapid technological shifts mean for the listener? Let's synthesize the main takeaway here, because this 42,950% search spike for estimating services, it is not just a piece of interesting industry trivia to chat about over coffee. It is a siren going off in the construction sector.
It is the ultimate competitive reality check. Your direct competitors, right at this very moment in your local market, are actively upgrading their accuracy.
Yep.
They are outsourcing their weak points, they are buying AI tools to multiply their capacity, and they are streamlining their administrative bottlenecks. The only question a business owner has to ask themselves today is, are you ahead of them or are you behind them?
Because if they are adapting to this material volatility and you are still doing napkin math, your firm will not survive the squeeze.
Absolutely not.
So here's a final provocative thought I want you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. Think about the bids you didn't win recently. You know, the projects you really wanted that somehow slipped away to a competitor. Were you actually beaten on the wholesale price of lumber, or were you beaten on precision?
That is the question every estimator should be asking themselves today.
Right, because if your competitors are using AI, real-time data integrations, and specialized outsourcing to estimate a job with a razor-thin 1% margin of error, and you are tacking on a 5% just-in-case blind buffer across the board because you aren't totally confident in your takeoff numbers,
You'll never win the bid.
you will never win. Your blind buffer makes you too expensive. And ironically, if you do manage to win a bid with bad numbers, the material volatility of the current market will eat your contingency alive, and you might end up losing money on the job anyway.
It is a lose-lose scenario unless a firm actively upgrades its precision.
The storm is already here. The flock has changed direction. The contractors who are going to survive and thrive in this shrinking market are the ones flying with technological precision, not just the ones flapping their wings harder and hoping for the best.
Couldn't have said it better.
So, here is your urgent homework for today. Go back to your office, open your files, and pull your last 10 completed projects. What was your estimate to actual variance? What did you think it would cost on bid day, and what did it actually cost when you handed over the keys? If you don't instantly know that percentage, that is problem number one.
Definitely.
Before we let you go, please make sure to subscribe to Scaling Legends on your preferred platform so you never miss an insight. Rate and review us so other construction business owners can find this crucial information, and share this deep dive with your team, especially your project managers, your estimators, and your operations directors.
And finally, to learn more about the specific data and operational tools we discussed today, visit smartbusinessautomator.com. Protect your margins out there.
We will see you on the next deep dive. Keep scaling.